Morning, Bells Falls, and welcome to the feed. Hi, Marty. Hi, Hailee. We have Hailee Galandak-Cochran today. She is going to talk to us about Friends for Change, a youth group here in town, and we're going to do some other stuff. But first,
I think we're having early release on the feed today because it's so warm in here.
Yes, we might have to.
We might have to
It's
have
really-
early release.
We're catching the
It's a 5-minute
part of the
feed
heat
today. We're catching the heat.
First day of school. Hope all the kids survived.
That's
An
it.
early release.
Yeah, I heard it was
Be
really
sure
hot
to catch
yesterday.
us every Wednesdays at 7:30 a.m.
And we're back again.
We're back again.
Hey!
Alex took me literal on
He
the
said early release. We're out of here. Okay. Welcome to live television. Anyway, so first day of school, and then I wanted to make a shout out, especial for me, is I wanted to shout out to Mike Hines. Over the weekend, I managed to leave my iPad sitting on a rock down by the post office, actually by the fish ladder, and he found it and turned it in. And so I was able to recover my iPad, and I really...
And also a shout out to BFPD for figuring it out.
Yeah, that's true. They
did some detective
some
work.
sleuthing. They looked. The message came up, and they read the message, and it was about Marty, and so they called Marty, and actually called the gym,
The gym
and
was
the
not
gym
from my class.
contacted Marty, and then Marty figured out it was me.
Well, I just mentioned it, and you're like, well, that because my thought was, who wouldn't know they lost their
What
iPad?
Idiot didn't know they. Yes,
But
that's
to
a
give-
whole other story.
To give Mike credit, he had the iPad case, just not the iPad, so he didn't realize your
Yeah.
case wasn't in there.
Yep. Anyway, so that's that, and we wanted to thank I heard the paving crews were out all last night, so the square has been repaved.
Yes.
Yeah, and they did a great job. And then another local institution, the Joy Wa, is
coming back, yeah.
Yeah, it's coming back, and it's going to open on September 2nd, which is Sunday. They're going to open with a
Their Sunday buffet.
yeah, they're going to open with a 3 to 5 Sunday buffet or something like
Nice.
that. I might have the hours wrong. What else do you have going on?
We do have one local event coming up. Main Street Arts is doing a fundraiser called Lights Camera Auction. It's on Saturday, September 22nd. It's a live auction. I believe there'll probably be some live auction items and then some, the usual bidding items. And then there's a musical review afterwards. Tickets are $25 a person. And right now, Main Street Arts is looking for prizes. So if anybody out there would like to donate, I'm sure they're sending out letters and they're soliciting. All the money goes to help defray costs at Main Street Arts. They're a non-for-profit, and it's expensive to keep it up and running and to produce as many shows as they produce and to provide as much to the community as they do. So if you want to have a fun night at Main Street Arts, mark your calendar for Saturday, September 22nd.
Great.
We'll probably
Thank
have David in beforehand to talk more about it, but that's just a little preview so you can get it on your calendar.
Good. Haley, welcome. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You had a busy summer with the kids?
A very busy summer, yeah.
Yeah.
I did, we got grant money from the Vermont Community Foundation that then we used to essentially fund an AmeriCorps position, which is like partially funded by the federal government, so that I could work 680 hours.
Wow.
Yeah, from June, and it'll be over at the end of September. So.
Okay.
And was that to help, let's actually back up a little bit.
Yeah, let's
Tell
start
people-
from the
Sure.
Tell
beginning.
people a little bit that
Yeah.
don't know about Friends for Change. Tell
Yeah.
them, what Friends for Change is, how it came about, and why it's a little bit different than most youth organizations.
Sure.
And who you are and how you're related to Friends for Change and
Yeah.
who Marty is and how she's related to through
Oh, Greater Falls Connection.
Greater Falls Connections to Friends for Change to
Yeah. So Friends for Change is a youth club, kind of like the Boys and Girls Club. We were born actually out of the closure of the Boys and Girls Club here in Bellows Falls, and I was working there at the time, and that was June of 2016.
I was to say, it seems
Yeah,
like
it's
it was a
been a
long
while.
time ago.
Yeah, which is just blows my mind sometimes. I'm like, whoa, 2 years. But so we were born out of the closure of that, and there were some things that we liked about the Boys and Girls Club, and some other things we felt like needed to be changed or improved. So this really gave us the opportunity to do that.
Yeah.
And so out of that, we had a series of community events that were really well attended, and we just talked to folks in the community, to the youth. What do we want? What do we need? And so we developed a mission and a vision based on the needs of the youth that we wanted to serve. So we're trauma informed, play-based and democratically operated,
Okay.
which is a
What
mouthful.
does that mean? Yeah.
Which means that youth who have stories, can come to us and share joy and have fun and feel safe and loved.
Okay.
Is kind of what I say.
So it's a safe place for them. It's a place they know that they can go, be themselves,
Yeah.
without judgment and
Yeah, exactly. And we learn. And the democratically operated piece is that they really have a voice and a choice.
Mm-hmm.
Which is one of the foundational pieces of being trauma informed. So it kind of all plays in together. But the kids have say on what we do for programming. They have seats on the advisory board. Really being a part of the decision making process
All
throughout.
through the whole thing.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, exactly.
So through that process, does it help them to learn that through choices there can be consequences, and sometimes
Yes.
they're good and consequences and sometimes they're bad.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
and-
that they might think it's easy to do all this, and then they say, well, why don't we just do this? And you say, okay.
Mhm.
Do you find that happens?
Yeah. There's a model, it's called a scaffolding model, where developmentally you're providing supports that are developmentally appropriate for youth. Obviously, I wouldn't give a 9-year-old the same amount of autonomy as
Right.
maybe an 18-year-old.
Mhm.
Clearly.
Mhm.
But I'm providing, or what we aim to provide is, a developmentally appropriate amount of support. But that doesn't mean that we're doing for them. We're doing it with them.
Mhm.
And so sometimes that looks like making mistakes and learning from your mistakes.
Yeah.
And so that's a lot of breaking down what we've done. Okay, we did this event. How do we think it went? Do you think we planned enough ahead of time?
Mhm.
What could we do differently next time? All that kind of learning curve stuff.
So those are actually really important life skills.
Yeah, exactly. And so even though maybe sometimes from the outside it looks like, just like a bunch of kids having fun. But really we're learning a lot of skills around boundary setting and, how do we build positive relationships with each other. A lot of skills that we're gaining just by being present and giving everyone voice and choice in a space.
Yes. And building positive relations with the community, too. I know you did a lot of work with being at the farmer's market and
Yeah.
sort of supporting the farmer's market and providing activities for other kids to do at the farmer's market. Seems like a really good way of, because I've heard a lot of people say, oh, those are the people at the farmer's market.
Oh, nice. Yeah. That's good. Yeah, we went to the farmer's market every Friday, and we did 2 kind of main things there. One of our members started a little thrift shop at the club, which is where we have either youth or people from the community donate clothing, and then we set it up like a little store and at the club, and the kids love it. Everything from I need extra clothes for school, or I'm needing a sweater, or to on days when we have dance parties, wanting to dress up in a crazy costume. So that's been really fun for us, and so we wanted to share that with larger community, and so we set up, what's it called, Kara's mobile thrift exchange. And so we brought a selection, the kids would choose it each week. I said it's youth curated, to the farmer's market, and then folks from the community could come and take those.
That's great.
And so that was a really cool experience, because we had some people who came, each week, who would choose things, or some people who would donate, and always the cool shock on people's face, oh, how much is it? Oh, it's free. Free.
That always takes
And
people by
the kids are like, well,
surprise,
we like to share, and that really, I think, piques people's interest. Wow, you guys are doing something different here.
Yeah.
So yeah, we like to get out to the community as much as possible, and then also with the goal of connecting our youth to other positive adults that might be outside of their circle, or vice versa. Sometimes there can be stigma that exists for some of my youth, and so getting out into the community so that people can see them in positive lights.
Right.
Is
Yeah,
really
it's
important.
very important.
And you've gotten actually some really good press this year. You had a nice article in the Shopper
Yep.
that Joe Milliken wrote, talking a lot about what you do. So I think there's been a good campaign to get the word out about what you do, so that people do understand what's going on, and hopefully then support
Yeah.
support. Do you get a lot of folks when you're out and about? Do you get a lot of folks asking you what this
Yeah.
is, what's going on?
Yeah,
Or do you
I
find
think-
yourself constantly having to do your spiel?
I do. I feel like I'm never not working if I'm in town.
Yeah.
Just because I'm going to run into somebody and then I want to talk to them about this or that. But yeah, that article helped. And also the article about the ACE Award through Greater Falls Connections. And then we were in...
Well, that's right. Congratulations.
which I hear all the time. I'm like, oh no. You know, I'm like, it's about them. Like, I don't want...
Yeah, but it's about you too. You facilitate so much of it that, yes, it is about you.
And you just
Anyway,
took
sorry.
it on. You just did it. Like, you just did it because you saw a need and you did it. And most people in the community don't do that. They
Yeah.
see a need and they complain about it. Like,
Yeah.
we really need to have this.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. We should have a
Somebody
youth
should do
group.
that. Somebody should do that. We
Yeah,
really
oh
need
yeah, I
this.
hear a lot of that at the coffee shop.
You do.
Yeah.
It kind of goes with coffee, I think.
Yeah, it's easy to sit around and get caffeinated and complain. But then, of course, I'm there and I'm like, well, if you want to get involved,
Exactly.
I've got this mentorship paperwork.
There you go.
But then, and then the connection between both of you, too. So Marty's on the Greater Falls Connections board.
Just
And
joined
we
newbie.
partner really closely with them. In fact, we're going to be partnering with them to put on September is National Recovery Month, so we're going to be helping to put on an open mic at the Flatiron Exchange with the theme of hope and connection and just thinking about kind of reframing recovery. And so some of the kids are going to perform, we're all going to go, and then it's not just music, so it'll also be like I'm hoping some of the kids will do spoken word, and that type of
Yeah.
thing. Yeah.
And you're going to be working with Turning Point Recovery.
Yeah, and
too,
also
right? Yeah.
Turning Point. Yeah.
So Mike Johnson's going to be down. He's always fun.
Yeah, I think it's going to be an awesome. And anytime we do events like that, like we did one at the library. I can't remember how long ago that was. Was that a month ago? 2 months maybe?
Was that the second installment of the importance of
Yeah,
hope?
Yeah,
it was second
yeah,
installment, and I feel like anytime we do that kind of collaboration, when it's Turning Point, GFC, and Friends for Change, it's always super powerful.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Well,
It
you're
makes a
seeing
big difference.
kind of all the aspects of the addiction problem. You're really in the prevention end of it, hoping to prevent these kids going down that path, but it's good
Yeah.
for them to see the recovery end of it too, that there can be, so I think it's those events encompass all of the areas that are important in the opioid
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah, and I feel like it's about people who come to those events from all kind of walks of life, and then we usually have some sort of activity or something that's breaking down those walls and making people
like we did the
communicate.
circles the last time. That was fun.
Yeah, which was so and I always say it's just like reframing my youth for people, because they get to be in leadership roles and they're presenting this like really awesome skill that they've learned through Friends for Change. So
Yeah.
So you have some new things at Friends for Change, isn't that? There's some new. Mike was saying, do you have some
Yeah.
new, are you
very exciting changes
okay?
coming down the road. Well, school just started today, and I will actually be starting school the day after Labor Day. And so I'll be going to school full time.
Wow.
Yeah, which is so exciting. I got enough scholarships to do that. But we have been working, so I've done a lot of hours this summer. So a huge chunk of them have been direct programming with the kids, but another huge portion of them were working with Youth Services, who was our fiscal agent, then was a little bit more than our fiscal agent. We were using their liability, and we were basically strengthening our relationship with Youth Services has been my goal throughout the summer. And so they actually have a program that did run out of the high school called RAMP, which is very confusing for us here in Bellows Falls because, that's the art project.
Yes, it is. It's the Rocky Head.
Yeah, so everyone's like, wait, what? But it stands for Ready to Achieve Mentoring Program.
Okay.
And so the goal is to work with middle school and high school students to develop their skill set and confidence around thinking about what they want to do post-high school.
Okay.
But the idea is that it's connecting mentors who have skills to youth who are interested in different things.
Right.
So kind of like a Big Brothers Big
I was just gonna
Sisters.
say, is it kind of like Big Brothers Big Sisters
Yeah.
about that? That's kind of a longer term commitment
Yeah.
sometimes, I think, with
Yeah.
Big Brothers Big Sisters.
And I don't know if it's directly considered mentorship either. It's more
More
like being
support.
social support
Yeah.
and being with people
Yeah.
as opposed to having a direct idea
Yeah.
of this is what I might want to be when I grow up.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, and they also really focus on younger youth. It's
Yeah.
easier to do that. It's easier to recruit mentors because adults can say, "Oh, I'll hang out with a 9-year-old all day."
Yeah, yeah.
But if you say you want to hang out with a teenager, it's like,
It's
"Oh,
like,
yeah, exactly.
I already did that."
Scary. They're- what are they gonna do? And so, yeah. So they were working out of the high school last year during Terrier time. They had a small group of youth who were doing that. But they felt like there was a little bit of limitations about being in the school,
Yeah,
maybe, or basically they want to do what we're doing in terms of connecting to youth,
Right.
but not having as much, I don't know, social capital, or we're just doing it stronger than they were. And
Yeah,
so, but in terms of the goals of the two programs are really similar. It is a mentoring program, but they talk about having relationships first.
Right.
Youth aren't going to trust an adult to tell them how to, direct their life unless they trust them.
Exactly.
So it's about building trust and relationships first, and then, individualizing it for each youth. For some youth, it might be being more social is their goal.
I can
for-
see where that might be difficult for the youth being in the school, though,
Yeah.
because there's so many other like connotations and baggage that comes along with the school part that you may not be comfortable in school.
Yeah.
Whereas with you guys, there's no preconceived notion or any like barriers you have to jump, any hoops you have to jump through to get there.
Yeah, exactly. And I think some of my youth might not feel as safe, or you just can't open up as much at school because you're in that, I gotta go to math class
Yeah.
mode.
School,
And
Yeah.
that's whole school
the whole
clique,
school thing.
people, weird, whatever,
yeah.
that whole social structure that some of us have survived, but I can't understand how kids do it now. It's just
Yeah,
beyond
it's
me.
a different ball of wax.
Yeah,
but-
it's,
Um,
but I guess I had is there a person that's a youth services employee that's doing this? Or?
Yeah. So they have a program. Well, they obviously have an executive director who's helping to manage this transition, but then also program director Emily Kornheiser.
I've heard that name. Yeah.
Yeah. She's going to be doing some stuff, political stuff. This may be how you heard her name. But she also helped to manage the the group that built the playground.
Yeah. Okay.
So
the playground here at Parks.
yeah. So anyway, she'll be doing that, and then the site coordinator, her name's Megan, and so we'll be all working together, which on the surface, at least for the youth, might not seem that different. We're going to have some new staff in, but it's radically different because we're going to have, it's a fully funded program.
Yeah, that's different.
Yeah, exactly. So, snacks can be provided, field trips can be paid
Yeah,
for,
yeah.
all of these things. There's a lot of supports that we need. And then, we're going to start off small, just 2 days a week for this semester, and then see how things grow. But there's potential to hire more staff. And so a lot of really exciting things
Neat,
coming down
neat.
the
And
line.
you're doing that all here in the Friends for Change space?
Yeah, and so they're going to transition out of there, and then we're going to continue also partnering with Great Falls Connections to do ATI, and then I'm working on
Above the Influence.
Above the influence, and
There's so many. The one thing you'll learn, there's so many acronyms. You gotta
I
learn the
know.
acronyms.
Yes.
in the nonprofit world,
Yeah.
like A, B, C, D, E. And then we'll also, I'm hoping to partner with the Restorative Justice Center in town to do at least a bi-monthly, but maybe even more community building circle.
Yeah.
with
And I
youth.
might, just as we're talking here, suggest that you guys come to Rotary and talk, because
Oh,
theirs
yeah.
would be a huge pool of mentors there.
Yeah, that's a
Yes,
great idea. Yeah,
And people who are in different walks of life, or who have been in different walks of life.
Mhm.
There's retired people that might be able to spend time with kids. And,
yeah,
yeah.
So I guess that was my next question. Is always putting out to the community that's watching, if they're intrigued and they want to get involved, how would they go about doing that with this new program, the mentorship program? How would that work?
Well, the first step would be to contact me, and then I can, I actually have a bunch of mentor paperwork right with me. Someone's waiting outside.
I'm gonna guess they're probably gonna be
There's someone
lining
at the
up
door right now.
But yeah, so it's a simple application, obviously a background check, and then we have 2 trainings planned for September. But then, obviously we'll have ongoing ones. But that's another real beautiful thing about us partnering with Youth Services is we are going to have lots of mentor supports. So in the past, that's been a struggle for me, kind of running the whole show by myself. Is volunteer management is a lot of energy.
Yeah.
It's kind of like managing employees.
Kind of like herding cats.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a great
herding cats.
Yeah.
Like managing employees,
that
except you can't discipline them or fire them.
Yeah, exactly. And they could say, "I'll be there," then not show up.
Yeah,
and then
there's
Cats
like
again. I'm telling you.
yeah, that's a great way to describe it. But there's going to be lots of supports around that. So trainings and regular check-ins and staff to be able to do that. Really is the beautiful part. And I've been working with Emily and Megan to develop a really dynamic training. And it's not just kind of like a training and you're done. There'll be continuous supports and check-ins. And then our idea is to kind of build a culture amongst the mentors, so then they can start supporting themselves.
Right.
And
Sense.
things like mentor pizza parties and
What's the time commitment for someone that was looking to be a
we
mentor?
look at for the minimum time commitment is 2 meetings per month. And meetings could be anywhere from an hour to 3 hours.
Meetings with the kids or meetings to get mentor support? Meetings with the kids?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So commitment time with youth, and then the hope is that mentors will come on and they'll love it, and like I did, they'll fall in love with the kids, and then they'll want to. We can pair mentors with youth who are interested, and then they can just like a Big Brothers Big Sisters program. They want to go bowling, or for example, a youth. Is interested in woodworking. They could go to Jamaica Cottage Shop together, or something like that.
And truly, like if we are looking, kind of looking like at the big picture of prevention and addiction, and it really begins. It begins with the youth. That's where the groundswell has to start. There's definitely money that has to go into recovery, and but I think primary prevention is always your best path if you can have a program that implements it on anything, any health issue. Primary prevention is really.
And what's that idea that like people don't ever change a negative health habit unless there's someone who they're connected to that supports them to do it. A lot of times you can throw as much like smoking sensation stuff at people, but it's when like their family's like, we need you to stop, that then they do. And I feel the same way about substances or just bad decisions in general. If as a youth, if you know that you have a mentor, if you've got me, you've got people from the community who are going to see you around and say, hey, what are you up to?
Well,
how are you doing?
Accountability.
Yeah.
Accountability, because that's a big thing. And to feel supported.
Yeah. Which is why it's kind of exciting what we're moving towards with this mentoring is we're kind of filling a niche in the mentoring like funding stream, because a lot of mentoring money goes to younger people. Because like we said earlier, it's easier.
It's easier. Yeah.
And so there is actually a lot of money for what we're hoping to do, which is really exciting.
That's great.
Means expansion down the road.
So when you said people can contact you, what's the best way to contact you, Hailee?
Yeah, so...
Besides getting a cup of coffee at Flatiron.
Yeah, that. I'll be working Wednesday and Friday mornings at the Flatiron, so...
So they're bright and early.
Your office away from the office.
Yeah, from 5:30 to 10:30. But then also email or phone. So I don't know if we can put that, but 912...
Would have had to have it ahead of time, sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. 912-644-9632. You can contact me or email HaileyGCE@gmail. But
They
if,
can also through Greater Falls Connections,
Yeah.
which sometimes might be easier to find. Or do you have a presence?
Yeah.
You have an online presence, correct?
yeah, we'll be on Facebook,
Facebook?
and then we'll be working to kind of merge onto the Youth Services website at some point soon. So any number of those things.
And do you have any events coming up you want to talk about?
Yeah, we have. So the first Friday, I know we have limited time. First Friday in September at the church, kind of a diagonal across from Hetty Green, that we're going to be doing a community barbecue fundraiser for FFC. So if you want to come and hang out, eat some burgers and dogs, and the kids will be there helping serving food. And then on the 21st, we're going to have an open mic. Oh, I think we talked about that.
We talked about it a little bit, but let's say
Yeah,
it
the
again.
21st, the open mic for the National Prevention Month with the theme of hope.
That's great.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
Great. Awesome.
And then how many kids do you have now,
Now,
roughly?
we have a larger group, I'd say about 15, but on a regular basis, we have 8 to 10 who come.
Yeah. So it's manageable.
Yeah. Well,
15
we
gets
put
big.
we put off the cutoff at 10 for myself and then maybe one other volunteer, so we can only have 10 per day, just because the services we provide are really unique to each individual, and so you need a high adult to youth ratio for that.
Yeah, that's great. Well, good. Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, thank
I
you
hope
guys
you'll
for having me.
consider coming to Rotary at some point in time and talk to them too, because I think
Yeah.
it would be very productive.
Yeah, I think it would be. That's a great
good,
place to connect
It's a
for
good place to
mentors.
connect, and
Yeah.
it's a good. It would be a good community project for Rotary too.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Excellent. So that's it for this week of the feed, and we'll be seeing you next week.
And when it's going to be a surprise.
Yeah, and it's going to be a surprise.
It's a surprise to
we're-
even us because
exactly.
we haven't booked a
So-
client and we haven't booked anyone yet.
Ooh.
So, thank you, Bellows Falls, and see you next week.
Bye, community.
That's it, folks, for the feed. Be sure to catch us every Wednesdays at 7:30 a.m. Also, find us on Facebook at Fact TV, or tell us what you think. thefeed8@gmail.com. And don't forget to watch the feed online at www.fact8.com.